Hell yeah,
So
hell
cool.
yeah.
And you live in San Diego, right?
hmm I was born and raised in National City, and I joined the military, so I'm a veteran. And
Oh, dude, me too.
yeah,
Thanks for
oh,
that.
heck yeah, yeah, yeah. I was in the Navy 6 years.
Navy.
Yes,
Sick,
sir.
dude.
Heck
Yeah,
yeah.
I was in Navy also. I was a corpsman, so I worked with Marines. But yeah,
Oh,
so I saw a little bit of blue side, a little bit of green side,
okay.
and
Heck yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
did my time.
that's actually where I started like the whole coffee obsession was on my deployments I had an espresso machine like a Breville like way back in the just like a little home kit, right? And
Yeah.
I was the coffee guy. I never paid for any coffee beans. People would just bring them to me and I would just make them coffee, and that's really how I learned the whole
Huh.
craft pretty much. And while the boat was rocking and stuff, like yeah. So,
That that's
yeah.
so funny, dude. It's crazy that you said that because I want to bring something up
Mhm.
that's I was thinking about when I was thinking about your company. But let me start by introducing you. So, all right, welcome back to Mind Buddy Mushroom, brought to you by Windansea Coffee. Today, I got a special guest who's brewing up something truly unique in San Diego coffee scene. He's the founder of Unico Coffee Co, a pop-up coffee experience that is as much about community and creativity as it is about the perfect cup. Alex has taken specialty coffee and infused it with a love for vintage cars, running Unico Coffee out of a 1992 Mercedes 300 TE.
Mhm.
But it's more than just a mobile coffee bar. It's a movement, a space for self expression, and a reminder that great coffee should be anything but ordinary. We're diving into his journey and what makes Unico stand out, and how he's building a culture of unapologetic individuality, one cup at a time. Alex, welcome to the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. Heck yeah. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, man, thank you. So it's funny what I was thinking about earlier. I was like, when I was kind of trying to set like a little agenda for like today, and really what drew me to you in the first place was, as I mentioned. So, for everyone out there, you should definitely go give Alex a follow. It's Unico Coffee Co. That's Unico.
Mhm.
Coffee, is it Co? Also in your
Yeah,
Instagram
Coffee Co.
handle.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, and like I mentioned in the intro, you got a Mercedes
Mhm.
300 TE, so it's like a wagon. It's like a long, Mercedes wagon. Is that in the 90s, 92, something like that?
Yeah, 1992. She's got like 160K miles on it. Yeah, so and she
Damn,
was taken
dude.
care of before, so it's honestly a dream car of mine. So like
Yeah.
I baby this thing so much. Yeah,
That's so
I love
sick.
this
Yeah, she
car.
looks super clean, man.
Hmm
But it got me thinking. I was like, both cars, like, and car culture and coffee culture,
hmm
there's actually a lot of similarities.
hmm
And one of them is that at one extreme of the coffee spectrum, it is a utilitarian drink. You know
hmm
what I mean? Like it's not just about the flavor. Like, I mean, think about like an MRE or something like that.
hmm
That little pack of instant coffee, it
hmm
tastes like shit, but
It gets you
it's just there
going.
to get the job done.
Hmm
Gets you going, man. Like, I always kid
It's
that like
fuel.
the nation,
It's fuel.
it's
like
fuel, dude.
hmm It literally is.
World wars are fueled on caffeine and nicotine.
Exactly, yeah.
That's by 19-year-olds.
Oh yeah, for real.
Yeah,
Heck yeah. No, 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 that's
yeah,
spot on. We've seen it firsthand. Yeah.
yeah, dude. It's true. So it's like at one side of the spectrum, it's like it's super utilitarian. It's just about to get the job done, uh, you know.
hmm
And then at the complete opposite extreme, I mean, you have people, weighing out the number of grams of beans, the grams of water, pre-wetting their filters on a pour over,
hmm
a certain, like, you can take it to such an elaborate like science to where it's not just about getting a job done at that point.
Exactly.
It's purely about the experience, the sensory, experience,
hmm
and the culture that's associated with that. And if you look at vehicles, it's kind of the same way, dude. You can
Yeah.
have like, a shitty little beater truck that, is just a work truck, just get you to A to B,
But it gets the
power,
job done though. Yeah.
but it gets the job done,
Mm-hmm.
right? And at the opposite end of that spectrum, you have, a classic that,
Mm-hmm.
is a $2 million vehicle. So one of 10,
Mm-hmm.
it's hand built engine. It's way beyond like, why, dude, a Honda Civic's going to get you there, just as
Mm-hmm.
quick. Does it really, why do you need this? And it's sort of that like that little bit extra is what makes it interesting and what kind of
Yeah.
drives people's passion about cars. So, for you, what kind of got you into cars? Why are you passionate about them?
I mean, I grew up watching all the epitomes of like car movies, all the Fast and Furious, all the
Ah, yeah.
yeah, Smokey and the
Fast and
Bandit too.
Experience.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh
exactly.
yeah, dude, love
For
that.
me,
Hell yeah.
Smokey and the Bandit, crazy. My dad actually owns a '79 Firebird, so I've always been in love with cars as a like in a general sense, right? As most kids do, And
Right.
growing up, I kind of was more in tune with the whole JDM culture, and then more in my adulthood, I started leaning more towards German cars. And
Mhm.
I mean, me picking Mercedes it was more so Mercedes picking me, because I
Uh,
was gonna do this originally out of an E36 wagon, so a BMW, and
mhm.
I was just scrolling on Facebook Marketplace as one does, just looking for a car that I probably shouldn't get, but I will, and I was just shopping, and as soon as I saw this Mercedes, I got it in Seattle actually. It's while I was living up there, um,
Mm.
and that's another thing too. That's really where I fell in love with coffee. But I
Oh
saw
yeah.
this car. Yeah, you can only imagine. But I saw this car and I was like, it was so beautiful. I test drove it. The guy was super cool. I could tell he cared about cars. I could tell that
Mhm.
this car was gonna be like my partner in this vision that I had. Because I knew I was like, I need a wagon, and
Yeah.
it's either Audi, BMW, Mercedes, and I'm
Yes.
glad I picked this Mercedes. But yeah, and just I don't know. I feel like those comparisons that you drew with like cars and coffee, it just makes so much sense because I go to literally there's an event called Cars and Coffee, and I think
Yeah.
it's crazy that nobody's done what I'm doing in the way that I'm doing it, because we've seen vehicles do like coffee, like we
For
the
sure.
most I seen is like VW buses doing coffee shops because they have space, and
Mhm.
I've seen
Mhm.
a lot of trucks do like big like UPS style trucks doing coffee
Yeah.
shops, but nobody's really compressed it into a wagon, and that was really the biggest challenge of me executing it all. But
Huh.
I felt just like I felt like in a wagon, I just wanted to do this with style, and I wanna put bags on my wagon. I wanna put like big 3-piece wheels on my wagon, and it's really all about standing out and having like style.
Totally.
Okay.
Um, you just reminded me of something I wanted to ask you about. The cars. Oh, okay. So why specifically that Mercedes model? Like, what when you're looking, was it
hmm
just happened to be the one that was in that just kind of
So it popped
on the
up.
marketplace?
It popped
Yeah.
up on Marketplace, and I saw it, and I would always like I would draw comparisons between cars, like what is the BMW logo mean, right? And it's always been like
Mm,
empower. It's like it's aggressive, it's sporty. But to me,
mm,
Mercedes has always been that brand that doesn't call attention. It's not yelling
mm,
for attention. It
sure.
knows what it is and is beautiful
Totally.
because of it. And
For sure.
while I was trying to think up of like the branding and the ideas behind my business, I knew that I wanted the coffee to steal the show and the car to just beautifully be there. And I think it just makes
Yeah.
so much sense, like I will love when I'm like serving up at a pop-up and everybody's enjoying the coffee, everybody's interested in the thing, and then somebody approaches me like, "Yo, is this a W124?" And I'm like, "You're a brother."
Yeah.
Because this is one of those cars where if you know, you know. I can be in traffic and
Totally.
blend in, but every now and then I'll get a guy from across the street being like, "You're the fucking man," you know, like, and I'm like,
Yeah,
"You are too," you know.
real recognized real.
No, yeah, for real. That's it right there. But yeah,
On there's on La Marzocco
mhm,
Instagram. Um, they so they're like a big, for people in the audience that don't know, they're like one of the premier espresso machine makers.
mhm,
They're like the Cadillac of espresso machines,
mhm.
and they do a lot of content with machines on like classic Porsches, and
Mm,
it's kind of like
I've
a
seen that.
vintage.
Yeah, it's
Like for
the
whatever reason.
they're doing the Martini Porsche collab. I've seen that around. People always send me that.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
nice,
like a
nice.
super like famous like race car. It's like one of those classic like liveries on a car, and I've seen a few of those. Yeah, heck yeah.
Right, right. But it's super cool. So that's the it's out there. And then Jay Leno has like the cars and car.
Hmm.
Is it Jay Leno or
Jay Leno has like one of
there?
the biggest collections of cars ever.
Right, right. And he had that show, or maybe it was Jerry Seinfeld. Well, somebody had the show
Hmm.
Cars and Coffee, and I think it was Jay Leno because he's a big car
Hmm.
collector. But so they're we're not the first people to maybe make those associations,
Right.
but I just love the your execution of it is
Hmm.
super cool, especially here in San Diego. No, tell me about coffee. How'd you kind of, you were mentioning a little bit in the military, but tell me how
Hmm.
you got into coffee.
Yeah, well, while I was on deployments, that's really where like the seed was planted in my brain. But then since I was stationed in Everett up in Washington, I was very
Hmm.
close to Seattle. By the time I was
Oh,
out, I ended up staying in Seattle for another year because one, I wanted to snowboard, but two, because I really wanted to live in Seattle before I left it. Because the plan was always to move back to San Diego. This is where I'm from. This is where I wanted to start a business and my life, you know? But
hmm,
yeah, just being in Seattle, oh my God, you're spoiled. You know, the market there for coffee is
yeah,
saturated, but for consumers, it's great, you know? So any corner I go, it's good coffee everywhere. Like the bar is set so high that I was able as a consumer to distinguish a good cup of coffee from
uh-huh,
and like a just a regular, just like you said before, get the job done coffee, you know? So
right,
I fell in love with tasting coffee instead of just like needing it, you know,
hmm,
and then I just started asking more questions like how can I get better at it and how can I make this a thing for me, you know, because a big thing that people like will sometimes avoid is like, yo, it's a business, you know, like we need to make money. And I was getting out of the Navy and I had this huge culture shock of like, how am I gonna make it out here? You know, like I'm sure you've experienced it too. It's like, oh my
yeah,
God, I don't have a paycheck. I wanted to make sure that I never wanted to do anything I didn't want to do, you know, because that was a big
hmm,
thing for me while I was in. I
yeah,
it's not like I hated authority, but I hated
right,
being told how to do certain things when I knew how to do it, you know. So now I
sure,
started this business in my own style, in my own flair, you know, and it's all really just on the bed of like do what I want to do when I want to do it. Because even the pop up style is like so true to me. It's like I'll
for
pop
sure.
up tomorrow, I guess, if I want, you know. and
Yeah,
it's and
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, that makes it really hard
No, I was
for
just
some
gonna
of my.
say,
Oh, go you go ahead. You go ahead.
sorry for. Sometimes there's like a couple second lag, and
Yeah,
it does that. So,
yeah. This is how my friends are
no,
on
but
Discord.
it, yeah, yeah, it's so annoying. No, but I was just gonna underline what you were saying about like being in the military. Is that was kind of my motivation to start my own thing too. It was just like that was the last time I will work for a big employer because you have no freedom, dude. Like it's ironic because you're out there fighting for
Yeah,
your freedoms, but you are a prisoner
hmm,
in many ways.
yeah.
So
You
I,
you
I
don't.
totally, and that is a cool aspect of pop-ups is that you get to kind of just do it. You bring what you're gonna eat,
Yeah, I
type of
think
deal.
the military is a big factor in my DNA because I mean I'm glad I
Hmm.
went through it. I don't regret it. It was hard. It was very
Hmm.
challenging, but uh, just this even just the symbolism of being stripped of your identity and you put on a uniform for your country, right? You you're not allowed to be expressive. And being suppressed for that long made me get out of the Navy and be like, boom, I will never be quiet ever again, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah.
And even my branding that I have planned out for the future, because obviously I do want a brick and mortar location. I have ideas and sketches of just exactly what I want my location to look like. And it's not like your typical minimalistic cafe that I mean, no shame to those, because those are great study spots. I go to like super minimal, just white walls, white tables, everything. But that's not me. I want to have parties at my freaking cafe, you know. So that's really the vision for it.
Tell everyone, because they may not be familiar with, describe your business. Like how do you go about it? How do you make money? How do you plan out what you're gonna do, etc.
So I mean, it's I only do pop-ups Saturdays. I'll sometimes do Sundays, but in my head, I'm always thinking about the next weekend, right? And so it's like I'm running a singular coffee shop by myself, right? So I'm in charge of ordering beans, cups, all the inventory, and I haven't really scaled to the point to have a stockpile of stuff. So it's literally every week I've been just making sure, like, hey, do I have enough beans to last me till next weekend? I'm always planning like the weekend after the one I'm about to do. So so yep. But I've slowly been like cementing myself with an inventory so that's streamlined. And now I'm thinking about employees too to help me out. I've had a few employees pull up to help me, because I've been pulling in like crowds now. Like I'll get lines, and it can be really, really stressful if it's just a one man show with a single group head. Like, oh man, like a single group head is crazy to have the volume I'm doing. But luckily with help, it's and people are really, really patient with me just because of the experience I offer, you know. So like, yeah, they get it. Everybody's super chill. Anybody that messages me ever is super positive, and anyone I've worked with is super awesome. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, I have my water tanks in the back. I have the power. I'm always like messing around with it. I started with like a literal car battery that I would recharge every time I used it. That was super sketch though. Yeah, that was super sketch. And then I did gas generators, electric generators, and I'm always just trying to figure out what the best thing. Well, the best thing is an extension cord. That's typically what I do. It just kind of visually is not as satisfying, but I mean it's better for the operation. So, and then yeah, I work a lot with a local business called I'm Still Developing. Those guys are family. I've done a lot of pop-ups with them. Most of my pop-ups are with them. It's just we just work together so well. They do film, like they're a film developing lab, and
interesting.
Yeah. And their audience matches my audience's energy. So when I bring my clientele and they bring theirs, it's just an awesome melting pot of like cool stuff. Because that's the event. Because I used to do a lot of cars and coffee, like at RSF Cars in South Bay. So two pretty popular car meets here in San Diego. But
gotcha.
Yeah.
So now you're like, let's talk about your rig, dude. So what kind of espresso machine do you have in the back?
So that's a Slayer single group. It's just one group head. It's not like it doesn't have like a built-in water tank. It's one of those where you would, if in theory you were to put it in your house, you'd have to have an additional water tank or line it up to like potable water. But But yeah, that's a really, really impressive machine. I love using it. Anybody who's used it with me, they loved it. They're hand built in Seattle. I felt like the need to get a machine that was from the city, you know. And I did think about La Marzocco, but I just wanted, again, something a little out of the norm, you know. That's always what I'm looking for. And yeah. I always trying to do that. And it's funny too that you say that, because the name to me, I really picked it out just through brainstorming for a long time, right? Just brainstorming what sounds good. And I always think it's funny how hard, like no matter how hard you try to be unique, you will never be unique. You know, you and that's so beautiful to me. You know, like as soon as I started blowing up on Instagram, I had a guy from Russia message me with almost the exact same setup, but almost cooler.
No
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
dude.
He has a Mercedes wagon, not a W124, a little older, but this dude went all out. Like his seat covers are oh, what are they called? They're the sacks that the beans
Bags?
come in. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Those
I know what you're talking about. Not canvas, but yeah,
no.
it's burlap.
Yeah.
Burlap.
Burlap sacks. There we go. And
Yeah.
then he had the ceiling lined with like grass turf for some reason. Like it was crazy. But he similar setup, similar vibes, just in Russia, and we chatted it up. But he had a different
That's
machine.
so
But yeah,
cool.
I have the Slayer, beautiful machine, probably the prettiest in the world in my opinion. And it was not cheap. I think I paid like around 14,000. And that
Wow.
was yeah. It's a big deal machine, I took loans
What?
out. I'll disclaimer. I took loans out, you know, as
Oh,
a yeah, and I did oh, shoot. I wish I could tell you the exact designator for the grinder, but it's Malkonig, and it's the one
mm-hmm.
with the scale. It's like an X60 or X80, something like that. But
Like that little digital scale thing that like
exactly, yeah. Because while I
yeah,
was
I know what you're
building,
talking about.
yeah, while I was building the whole setup and in my sketches, I was like, I don't have room for a scale. Like that's the biggest thing is
Yeah.
I don't have space, you know. So
Right.
and for
Owner occup.
efficiency, yeah, efficiency and me being by myself most of the time, I needed that scale just to help me out with the whole process of making, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the Slayer and the Malkonig grinders are my lifeblood right now. That's my moneymaker and that's my pride and joy right there in my dream car. So
And then you have the water tanks like in the back seat. Is that
hmm
kind of how?
yeah, I got the back
And do you have the
seats.
seats still up or are they
No, no,
down?
no. I got them down. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's funny too because in the backpack, the Mercedes comes with third row seating, so I have to
Oh,
fold them
really?
down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're all folded down. So yeah, I made a wagon that's
Interesting.
typically able to carry like 7 people into a coupe,
Yeah.
you know, because of this coffee shop. Yeah.
That's sick. That's so dope. And
Okay.
the water tanks and the stuff that you have back there are most of the things pretty like fixed into place, or do you kind of take everything out of your car? You know.
So so the water tank stays in the car. It's not bolted in.
Mm-hmm.
But usually when
Mm-hmm.
it's filled, it's heavy enough for it to not move. I keep a cooler there that I take out every time just to dry it off and clean it. And my drain tank, I obviously always have to clean that after every event. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, the pumps stay in there, and yeah, what else I have? I'll always keep like an inventory of extra cups and stuff back there. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
that's like the back of house, you know. So.
Yeah,
hmm
yeah.
hmm
Do you keep the Slayer in there too? You
The Slayer stays in the car. That's why I don't go
yeah.
out much. I do not go out. I am not parking my car out here.
Going around.
No, for real. And I have that's the biggest thing. I have so many trackers in that car. Like that's
That's good. Yeah.
yeah. And then it's insured too. So like even just like with any business,
Oh
you
wow.
insure your property,
Of
you
course.
insure your equipment, and that's exactly the approach I took. hmm
That's crazy. And so how do you kind of advertise or how do you attract crowds initially? I mean, I know you have your
hmm
social media, so that's probably like a big way now. But how did it start? Because it's hard to grow shit organically.
Yeah, so I started just putting myself out there. I would literally just go anywhere. Anywhere where I one wanted to hang out and be and I saw the setting being cool. I used to do Imperial Beach a lot. I
Yeah.
used to do Sunset Cliffs a lot. I used to just go to parks in general. And that's really where I started like marketing myself first person, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
I was literally a street vendor. I would be like, "Hey, I'm Alex. This is Unico Coffee Co." Or be like, "Hey, you want coffee, espresso?" Just while I'm playing music. A lot of the times, my music would lure people, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, yeah," and then we'd start talking, and then they would see what it is, and they'd be like, "Oh heck," and then
That's
and
sick.
then so that was like the very first baby steps, and then I would as soon as I started like actually posting on Instagram and taking my content a little more serious, it
Yeah.
started taking off more, and that's where I decided like, oh, that's it's a no brainer. Like I'm gonna use Instagram to update my audience to let them know where I'll be exactly, you know, because I
Mm-hmm.
don't really go to like markets where like there's already
Yeah.
clientele. I have to pull
Right.
my clientele with me, you know, and
Totally.
that's super important for me.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've found. So, I'll do pop-ups. I do pop-ups, but I do more so like private events
Hmm.
or pop-ups that other people put on, and then they kind of, I'll
Hmm.
show up as like the coffee vendor or whatever. Um, and that has been a good recipe for me
Hmm.
because dude, the markets are tough, man. First of all, you have to apply to,
Hmm.
you apply to get into that market because they're curated, and then there's the market fees, which are not cheap. I mean, they're like in the
Yeah.
hundreds of dollars.
Hmm.
You need,
And
all
some
these
days that's
guys
all
like
you make too.
permits.
So like that
Totally.
that's why my very first event in San Diego was at it was Lux Nights at Garage Collective. They're not a thing anymore, but
Mm,
for vendors you had to pay $100 or 150, and I was at the
mm,
point where like, dude, I don't even think I can make that much.
yeah.
Like
Right.
like speed wise. Like now I think I could in like an hour, yeah.
Yes.
But back then I was just
Yeah.
learning. So
Right.
I end up going, and I I didn't pay the vendor fee until the owners there were like, "Oh, what? This is you?" Because I had my trunk opened at the car meet, obviously, and then they
Mm-hmm.
said, "You, dude, go have at it, like sell." And I was like, "Okay," and then I started working, and that's what it took. But yeah, like no, some markets just tax way too much, and I'm like, and that's kind of why I started like thinking very early on. I was like, no, I want my profits to be mine off rip, you
Yeah.
know? And that's
Yeah.
when I
Right.
started
Right.
looking into my own permits and tying my name to like a business so that I'm able to stay there on private property. And there's a lot of ways I had
Mm.
to think about it too. So
That's
yeah,
a
I've
that's a good insight. Let's talk about that because
mhm,
I've run into that. So it seems like 2021
mhm,
there was a lot. I mean, a lot of people got into something over the pandemic.
yep,
They had time and they had a little bit of money, and so then they were kind of doing like a thing. So I saw a pretty big explosion of entrepreneurs, people
mhm,
doing their own. They have an idea and then they go and execute in some way, shape, or form. And it was like, yeah, it was like end of 21 or like into 22. I don't remember exactly when, but I started seeing the the city like cracking down
mhm,
on like street vending. And I mean, it's frustrating for a number of reasons, but I'm like, come on, dude, like what do you want
mhm,
people to do? If you can go smoke fentanyl on the street, like
yeah,
you're gonna do anything.
no, for real,
If you want to go do donation based yoga at the park,
mhm,
it's like, do you have a permit for that? Do you have a permit? And you're gonna get hassled by like park rangers and stuff.
yeah.
So how was your kind of workaround, or how did you kind of crack that nut?
So I mentioned that I was in Imperial Beach for a while.
Yep.
I did get stopped by like the city, like it was a guy in a polo, just he was super nice, and he noticed, he I think he waited till I was done, which is super cool, where he like
Yeah.
approached me, he was like, "Hey man, we got to do this." And I was like, "Oh, dang." He gave me like a whole file on how to like apply for stuff, and I was like, "Okay, sweet. I'll take a look at it."
Huh.
But then I just it's funny. I just ended up not going back there. And then yeah, I started looking into like just a more general like way to do this legally. And my thing was specifically I was inspired by street vendors. You know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
Mexican. I've always grown up in my city seeing that guy on the corner selling flowers, that lady at Home Depot selling burritos that I'm always buying from too. And it's just
Right.
like this is that was like a big spark for me. So it's always been a big blend of like inspiration that just one day clicked
Hmm.
in my head all together, you know? But
Totally.
yeah, and I mean San Diego has the SBA, the small bit
Small
it,
Business
something
Association.
yeah, small business association,
Yeah.
and you can
Yeah.
call them up and they give you like they can send you to another thing. I forget what the other thing is, but they assign you like a mentor who's a business owner, and they try to
Hmm.
match you up with like kind of the same wave you're on, and
Hmm.
they hold your hand. They any questions you have, any websites you need, they send it to you, and it's super easy to do. But for a while I was just, you know what, I'm a small business. Like just like you said, I don't think I'm hurting anyone. If anyone tells me to leave, I will leave. But
Yeah.
that's just some of
Right.
those like corners you have to cut when you're starting a business, you know. But now that I'm getting a little more established, I was like, okay, let's do it seriously now, you know.
Right. Right. So do you have essentially like a food truck permit? Is that
Yeah, yeah.
ultimately kind of
Seller's permit,
what
food
you're?
truck permit, and
Uh, uh,
yeah, that's it, it's super simple. It's daunting at first, but once you go through the
right.
system, ask the right questions, there's always support for it. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. So what's kind of your vision for this? Like, what's kind of the next step from here for you?
So, I don't want to give up too much, honestly, but
You don't
I
have to.
yeah, but I'll tell you this much: there's two people that I'm working with, two businesses outside of coffee, and we're trying to have a shared space where we all have like a little corner of the building. And I'll tell you this much: if you look at my menu, there's and this is just a for sure element that I will need to have in my establishment is a telephone
Uh-huh.
pole with a like a power line, and then you'll see those shoes. They're Adidas Superstars, but with the traditional Mexican like pastry, the conchas. And
Huh.
I own those shoes, and I've never worn them, but I want to hang them up in my cafe as like an element of like just the street that I grew up on, and because I've lived in so many cities, and I've loved always being just walking the streets, you know. And that's the cool thing about
Right.
Unico too, is that it literally started on the streets too, you know. So it's like
Right.
I would pull up on any random street and just start selling coffee, you know. So it's like it just it's where I belong. I feel, and it's like my business. I want it to be a love letter to that, you know, because my dad also grew up
Yeah.
in South Central LA in the '80s, and he's always been like a big buff about graffiti, and like he did 27 years in the Navy too, and
Oh shit.
he would, even throughout his career, he would always sketch. So like I love street art, and that's definitely gonna be all over my place, you know, and
That's awesome.
I just I just want it to be loud, you know. I want it to be roughneck. I want it to be just
Yeah.
city, you know. Like I want it to be coffee for the streets, you know. So
For
that's.
sure. I mean, it's super cool that you can, be like a community leader
Hmm.
in a certain respect. I mean, I know that's kind of a, hoity-toity
That's
type
a
of
yeah.
thing, but
That's a little. It's a little early for that.
yeah, yeah,
Wait.
to
I don't
tackle.
want responsibilities yet.
But I mean, if you think about like coffee shops in general, like they are these, you know, no one goes to the library anymore,
Hmm.
and in a place like San Diego or Southern California in general, it's a lot of commuting. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
people in their cars, they're going from home to work, work to pick up their kids, like whatever their case is, and these third spaces like the
Hmm.
that's not home and it's not work
Hmm.
is in modern times the coffee shop.
Yeah.
And there's why they're ubiquitous. That was Starbucks' whole model, is like
Hmm.
let's find a place where people can go. And then that model has changes for especially like Starbucks. Now they're
Hmm.
like, we don't want you sitting around, we want you to pump
It's
you
efficiency.
out.
Yeah.
you know it's efficiency, right?
Hmm.
That's their model. But there are a lot of coffee shops, especially like in North Park and Barrio
Hmm.
Logan, and a lot of spots where it's they're every the places are walkable, and people go and
Hmm.
they post up and they work there, they eat there, they hang out, they listen to music, and I don't know, just you're connecting community. So what's cool about what you're doing is even though you're not in a brick and mortar spot, it's like you kind of are building community
Hmm.
everywhere you go in
Hmm.
that, with your car. And I think it's a really cool idea of, taking that like street
Hmm.
inspiration and, car culture and all this and eventually making it into like a brick and mortar that gets to be your
Yeah,
vibe.
100%. Yeah, I've done a few events that are kind of aside from the traditional pop up, like, hey, I'm selling here and we're having a thing. I did my own event, which was my own cars and coffee, where I had a few cars pull up and I had a DJ
Mm,
set while I was selling coffee, while there was a clothing vendor, while there was like a food vendor too, So it was like a whole little market that
yeah.
I organized, and just seeing everybody interact was so beautiful to me, and I love that I was able to do that. And a big thing down the line for me too is having those events, like, oh, and it was at a mechanic shop, and it was my
Oh,
friend
sick.
from high school's mechanic shop. So if you can imagine that, my car was in the bay, like to be lifted, right?
Wow.
And then the DJ set was right next to there. And I hope that down the line I can like maybe do something with like live musicians and maybe even interview them in front of the audience, or do certain things like that. That's something I've always wanted to do. So yeah, yeah,
Totally.
I definitely am building a community, and everybody that I've met so far has been super awesome. And I love that I'm at the point where I know names and I can recognize faces, because that's
Right.
really cool. Like it feels like a family already.
Yeah, dude, it's really nice. And in the short term, like as you're still kind of building, I don't know if we were recording when we started talking about it, but
Mhm.
it's that being that third shift entrepreneur is tough where you're like, I still got to pay the bills. I still got
Yeah.
to, make ends meet. But, what keeps driving you to, what makes you so passionate and keeps driving you to not give up on what you're doing?
Well, it's something it's something that I want to do. Like there's a there's a phrase I always tell people, and my friends have heard enough of it, but it's like you can't complain about a full plate when all you wanted to do was eat. So I
Yeah,
wanted
right,
I wanted
right.
my own thing. I wanted to be an individual. So yeah, I got a full-time
Hmm.
job. Yeah, I'm a full-time student. Yeah, I'm running a business.
Hmm.
Before, like, I would get stressed at like a normal day at work while I was in the Navy, but there was no fulfillment in that for me. I am more stressed than I've ever been in my life, but it's
Yeah,
satisfying somewhat, because at the end of the day, I am
right.
making it work. I feel independent. Even my day job is satisfying. I'm working with artists.
Right.
I'm learning things I want to learn, because that's what I feel like people end up pushing off till like it's too late. It's I always tell people, do what you want. Like, do whatever the
Yeah.
fuck you want at all times, and it'll usually, like, if you have good intentions, it'll usually end up benefiting you more than anything. So that's that's
For
that's what
sure.
motivates
Yeah,
me. It's my world.
I
I'm
love
in
that,
control.
dude. For
Heck
sure.
yeah.
And that's a big thing. Dude, I feel I'm stressed as fuck right now of
Mm-hmm.
some money stuff. I had to buy a car. I had to,
100%.
sell my house. Like stuff that was going down, and you know, it never goes away. Like in year one, there
Mm-hmm.
was certain stressors. In year two, there was different stressors. In year three, it was, and that's just the way it is. But the one thing that I never feel, not even for a second, is unfulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm wasting my time or doing something. So my stressors are purely material in a lot
Mm-hmm.
of ways, which is like not a bad, it's better than it being existential
Yeah.
of like, dude, what am I going to do with my life?
Mm-hmm.
Like, am I going to be just one of those guys that hates my job,
Mm-hmm.
you know and just having the courage to like show up every single day like you're doing, work 3 jobs, and humble yourself
Mm-hmm.
to be like, there's a long way to go. I think that's inspiring, and one of the reasons I really wanted to like talk to you and preach your message. So I work in like the wellness space,
Mm-hmm.
with my company. We do coffee, obviously, but really focusing on how functional mushrooms and plant medicine and
Mm-hmm.
these things can be used to sustain your health. But I don't talk to a lot on the podcast, especially of people really in the coffee industry and people who are putting their passion into that field and growing a business um, you know in the coffee industry by themselves. So it's a really cool perspective that you have, and I think it can hopefully inspire some other people to be like, hey, if there's something you want to do, like just go out there and do it. It doesn't have to be like, it can be unique. It can be the first time, or hey, no one else is doing that. You're like, well,
Mm-hmm.
great. Why do you have to do just what everyone else is doing?
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're really showing people that there's a way to pursue your
Mm-hmm.
your dreams.
Because you can do, just like you said, you could do something that is already made and make it new. You know, like that.
Right.
That's the
Right.
biggest thing. I mean, Quentin Tarantino said that a good artist is an amazing thief. You know, it's like I saw coffee shops, I saw coffee trucks, I saw coffee vans, and I was like, I want to do this in my style. You know, like I knew I wanted to do something in coffee, and I was like really quick to being like, I can't take out a humongous business loan to afford that. You know, like what is the like? There's always ways around to being able to do what you want to do, and you just have to like kind
Totally.
of think about it. You know, like okay, I can't afford a brick and mortar or a huge machine. Let's stay humble and like keep it small. How can we do that? You know, and yeah,
Sure.
I definitely like I definitely did want to do it in my own way, and sometimes you have to build your own path. Like there's guides, you know, but you make your own path, 100%. You know.
Totally, dude. And just having that voice in your head, that because you always got like the angel and the devil on
Mhm.
either side, but the voice that you gotta really focus on listening to is the one that says like, just like, trust your gut, dude. Trust
Mhm.
your instincts. Like, believe in yourself, believe in your dream, believe in what you're doing, because it's really tough, dude. I've gone down pitch competitions, pitching to investors, pitching, running in the same boat, being like, hey, if you want to scale a CPG business online, you need money. There's not
Mhm.
really like a way around that. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna pitch to investors. I'm gonna do all this stuff, and you're doing this, and I mean, my parents don't get what I'm doing. They don't understand why
Mhm.
I'm
Oh,
doing it.
100%.
I'll pitch to investors down here. They're like, no, we're more of like looking in the SaaS industry, looking at something with 100x return. So you're doing this, and they're like, every way you turn, it's like people are kind of doubting you, or
Mhm.
they don't get it, and you have to have the balls to just be like, that's because they're all wrong. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
No, yeah.
And I'm gonna keep seeing this through because I believe in it.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. I've before I even like built the whole setup, I would tell people like, yo, I'm thinking about building like a coffee shop in my car, like in a car that I'm looking for. And they were like, that's crazy, dude. Like just do this instead. I'm like, shut up.
Hmm.
You know, like I
Right.
cuz anything that's in here nobody else can see, you know? And if you trust your vision and you can visualize its success, just send it, you know, just keep going. And I have like I feel like I have incredible foresight of what's to come from my business and from my brand and everything I'm doing, and nobody can tell me that it's not a good idea because I think what I have is gonna grow, and I really believe in it. And I hope that anyone that that has something that they want to do, that they could just also believe, you know, like to just follow through. Like there's ways, you know, like, and there I can come up with 1,000 excuses as to why I shouldn't be doing this, but like I don't know. I just my thing is I'm just doing it. You know, like it's autopilot after a while. You know, it's like It's what I'm doing. You don't even have to think about it. Just
Totally.
it's just taking that leap.
Well, sometimes overthinking it is what gives you those
Mm-hmm.
like plants that seed of doubt. To be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, am I? And and to other people listening that might be veterans as well or transitioning out of the military, dude, don't sleep on that GI Bill, man,
Oh,
because the GI
100%.
Bill for me was huge. That
Mm-hmm.
was like, I was able to go to school, full time as a full time student, but I was in evening classes. So I went to school from 5 to 10, like Monday through Friday. Maybe it was like Monday through Thursday, and then I had my whole work day to figure out how I'm going to make this business go. You have your
Mm-hmm.
healthcare taken care of. You have a little bit of a VA rating. So there's the very practical thing that stops a lot of other people is, well, they need health care. They need, they have to go work a job because they need, and then they need income, and then
Mm-hmm.
they need these other things. And so all of a sudden you're like, yeah, dude, you have to figure out how you're going to build this company in, just a few hours a week. And the reality is it's going to take a lot more than that. Not to
Mm-hmm.
discourage people that maybe don't have a GI Bill, but it's just one of those things. There's some statistic, I read it a long time ago, about like after World War II, it was like 40% of new businesses were started by a veteran.
Oh, wow.
Um,
That's huge. I did
some
not know that.
statistic like that. It was a huge amount, dude. It was like everyone came back from the war and they were just like, screw it, let's go. And so, they were building everything. Nowadays, it's something like 6%.
Okay.
So it's not it's not the way it used to be.
Okay.
And I think that's, if there's one thing that I want to inspire other veterans to do, is that you have the skills, you have the leadership, the ability to
Mm-hmm.
execute, and that sort of like self drive that it takes to, you know, get up early and
Mm-hmm.
put in the work and do something hard. And then you also have these benefits that can create a situation that just the average civilian doesn't have.
Yeah. I mean, we gave up those like 4 to 6 years of like our early 20s, and I mean, yeah, that's how I look at it. Like I wasn't gonna do anything in college if I had joined, you know, like if I went to college right after high school, I probably would have been wasting
Hmm.
my time and my money, so I
Sure.
I'm I there was a few dark points while I was in the Navy. I did not want to be there. There was no real way out, but it made me stronger, and those benefits that no one can take away from me. Like I'm using them,
Right.
like that's what you
Oh yeah.
gotta do, and those 6 years to be able to be transferred into help that I can like utilize right now makes everything totally worth it. Like just the GI Bill. Like I'm not paying to go to school. I'm getting paid to go to school,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's funding. It's paying the rent. It's partially funding my business, and then I have a job that I'm also funding my business, and
Right.
it's just awesome. And then the VA also has a lot of help for like entrepreneurs too. So.
That's good to know. That I didn't know so much about the help. That what type of help programs did you find from the VA for entrepreneurship?
Oh, they offer some loans too. I didn't use a lot of resources, but there are some SBA loans that you can use with your, because I know there's a VA home loan. I know for a while I was plotting to use. You can like kind of make it a business loan too. Like there's a way to do it. And I was
Mm.
looking into that, but I also just got like there was another mentorship program where like you could just ask them. I wish I could tell you exactly what it was, but just like I said before, if
Yeah.
you look for it and you know where to ask questions, like you can always find it. Like va.gov, you can just scroll through stuff and you'll find support there.
Cool. So you found that whatever you were trying to think of, that was of like specifically that you found through the VA, or was
Hmm.
it through SBA for veterans? It
Oh,
was the
I
VA.
I'm I mostly used SBA. SBA is
Gotcha.
a super awesome way to go. There's probably an office in your city. You can just call them. I'm huge on just calling. Like
Totally.
yeah, I don't like applying on websites, and they can like really point you in the right direction for a
Right.
lot of stuff.
100%. Um, so tell me a little bit about what you're studying in school. We kind of mentioned it before we started recording, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm majoring in media production at San Diego City College, uh, and it's so awesome. I love it. I mean, it's stuff that I used to just YouTube anyways, So it's like it's
Yeah.
stuff I want to learn,
Right.
And
Right. Right.
it's really cool. All the assignments I want to do, and I'm doing it mainly to kind of involve it in my business as well. I want to I want to have my own media production team, and work with a local artist and interview people and have podcasts similar to this. And that's why this is really awesome practice because it's a skill that you end up acquiring, and yeah, I'm trying to acquire those skills in college in the best way possible through education, and San Diego City is freaking awesome, dude, because I mean, I can't imagine myself being at state right now because that's like it just operates differently. At the community level,
Yeah.
the teachers like at city are so awesome, and you can talk to them. At state, they have huge lecture halls. I wouldn't be able to have like an actual conversation. So it's just been working out for me. I did an audio recording class, intro to cinema. Right now I'm doing a screenwriting class, so it's like just a bunch of general media. I would love a job in broadcast though, like a day job in like sports broadcasting. I would love that. Just hold a camera or something.
Dude.
Yeah. But see,
Yeah.
I'm even yeah, even if it's not like coffee related, if my business takes off, I'm looking for another job to have fun in too. And if I don't like it, then I also will move on. But I just know that a pretty sure bet for me personally will be in anything that's media related, Whether it's an interview, whether it's recording news, or being what's it called? A journalist of some kind, I just know that's kind of what I want to do personally down the line.
Well, it's a super important skill in 2025 as a brand creator. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're building a company that is outward facing and you're trying to attract customers, you can't. There's no way around it, dude. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be a media
Yeah,
company on some level. You are
100%.
producing videos and content and in a variety of different ways, and just the ability to tell stories, engage people, find where what motivates people. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an incredibly important skill that absolutely fits in with what you're doing these days.
Yeah. I've done a few collaborations with people that are in the media world, especially specifically social media, and they've really helped me grow. Like they have uh, a pretty big audience, and they found me and they wanted to do something with me, and they posted it for
Right.
me. And even when we were recording videos, I was learning, just like, oh, this is a good shot to take. Oh, and there's just like a bunch of tips that you can like take from working with other media people to like to work it in your own space, and yeah, you make an
Right.
amazing point that yes, if you have a brand, everybody's on their phones. That's the way to market yourself. And I'll say this, I have never paid to boost a post. I have never paid for any sort of ad space. It's all like super organic with the people I work with and my posts, and that's really all you need. Like you could I guess boost it. I've never done it, but I feel like it's a little I just want to do everything organically, I don't want to take shortcuts. There's no shortcuts. I'll always get people wanting to like know exactly how I do my stuff, and it's like, dude, if I reply to everybody and told them exactly how I do everything, I wouldn't have time for anything else. It's like, dude, if I can do it, you can do it. It's just a matter of, So yeah, the media space is super huge, and it's if you're not on it, that's where it's at. And if you can do your own marketing, and if you can learn how to do it, that's a super huge pillar of support for your business.
With you. And yeah, this has been the Mind Body Mushroom, brought to you by Windansea Coffee, the world's greatest mushroom infused coffee and coffee products. Check us out online. Check us out on social media, and like and subscribe. I'm so bad about plugging. Oh, dude, I'm gonna send you a bag.